Hey everybody, so I wanted to hop in here and explain what an ERA is and how to understand it. This is a really basic thing that you need to understand if you're going to be billing insurance in your private practice or as a virtual assistant for a therapist or other providers. So I wanted to walk you through this. Let's see. So let's start over here. So this is a Medicare claim that I got. I've obviously edited it to take out a lot of the identifying information. But as you can see, it was paid by Palmetto GBA. They have their phone number there if you want to reach out to them. If you get a claim and you've got a question about it, there's usually a phone number that you can call. This is just showing you that it's a Medicare remittance advice. This comes on the page and the ERA number. So I've changed this, but this is basically the ERA number that comes with this. So if anybody ever asks you for that, you can usually find it at the top of the claim. It's just an identification number for this. So here's my business, my LLC, and I've taken out my address, but it'll usually say your address here. Over here, it'll say your MPI. My MPI number was there and the date I received this and the check and the EFT number. So the check number, they'll have it right here. This is important in case you realize you actually have not gotten paid for this claim in your bank account. If you've got direct deposit set up, you can call the insurance company and say, it says check number here was issued, but I don't have any record of being paid in my bank account. So they'll be able to check and track that check for you and see where it is. They'll say, oh, well, we mailed it to this address, and it could be somebody else. That's happened to me before. I've gotten other people's checks in the mail. So if you don't have your check, you want to be paying attention to that, and you can follow up that way to see where it is. All right, so I want to tell you more about this here. So this is your standard ERA. This is a claim I filed, a bunch of different dates of service for the same claim. So it'll show up like this if you did that. Here's my dates of service: 2/16, 3/10, 4/20, 5/4, 6/1. I billed them all together. I waited a while on this client. I know I can wait up to a year with Medicare to file, so that's not a big deal. Right here, you'll see the client's name. You'll see an identification number here. You'll see the account number here. ICN number, this is individual claim number. It basically is the specific claim number for this claim that was filed. If you ever need to resubmit this EOB or this claim to the insurance company to change something, or if you get it back and you realize that the codes you billed were incorrect, or what you charged was incorrect, anything like that, you're going to want to enter this original claim number here onto that claim form that you're resubmitting. That's how they're going to know what you're talking about. Okay, so let's go through this. MPI number, you'll know which provider. Right here tells you the provider with the MPI number, the dates of service, the place of service where the session took place. So for Medicare, actually, as of today, September 2nd, 2022, Medicare is still asking us to put 11, which really means in office for even telehealth sessions, because I'm a telehealth only provider. But right now, Medicare still wants you to put 11 right here. So that's why that's there. And then the modifier over here, 95, is just indicating that it was indeed a telehealth session. So over here, NOS basically is just asking the units of service is basically what it's asking here. So it's just one unit of service. The procedure code that I use, 90834, and the modifier, 95. And then this is the amount I billed for the client. And I've blocked this out because we're not supposed to really share our rates publicly, but basically this is the allowed amount that Medicare is going to pay me for the client. So not what I billed, but the allowed or contracted amount that they've agreed to pay me for each 90834 that I do. So that information would usually be right here, and then the total is down here. If the client has a deductible, it'll say that right here, so you'll be able to find out, because it'll say, oh, this amount's allowed, but they owe a deductible, and over here it'll probably say they paid you nothing if the client owes a deductible, but in this case there is no deductible for him. And the co-insurance right here, this says that he actually does owe a co-insurance for each session, so that goes into more in depth about that right here. And then over here is sort of like the write-off amount or how much is not allowed, all of that. So that part is usually listed right here. And then over here is how much the provider, myself, was actually paid for each session. Um, and you might notice some differences here, and there's a reason for that. I'll go over that in a minute, but this is Medicare specific, so you won't really see this on many claims. This is an unusual situation. And over here, it talks about the patient responsibility, which is basically all of this coinsurance added up to tell you how much the client should be paying you for all of these sessions. And then right here, this is Medicare specific, but claim information has been forwarded to Anthem FEP Virginia. So this is telling me that this remaining amount that the client is responsible for has been forwarded on to the secondary payer, and the secondary payer usually is going to pick all of that up. But that's something else you have to pay attention to and monitor. Okay, so I hope that explains that. Now let me go to this other page, which is essentially still the top part up here that we were talking about, but I want to let you know about codes. So on every ERA, usually at the bottom there are, a glossary of codes down here to help you understand some of what's happening up here. So for example, CO45. CO45 says charge exceeds fee schedule, maximum allowed or contracted fee arrangement. Basically, this is going to be on all your claims because for every claim, we always bill our self-pay rate here. We get paid our contracted rate here. So this is basically saying that they are not going to pay you your billed amount. They're going to pay your contracted amount. So that's all that 45 is. It's just sort of like a notice that you're only being paid what you agreed to legally in this contract. And then this is a really unusual one. I actually had to look it up myself because it's sort of a weird situation with Medicare right now. Medicare basically has reduced the allowable amount that they're going to pay clinicians for services. So they are basically going back and sort of they're paying the full amount, but then they're recouping the amount. So 253 just means that they're basically taking this part back, this reduction in federal payment. So that's why I said this is a little unusual up here. You'll see the CO 253 right up here. And it says the amount that they're actually holding back for these claims, where it used to be this total amount. Now they're holding this back. So that reduces the net payment over here. Very unusual. You're not going to see it a lot unless you're a Medicare provider. You're going to start noticing this showing up on your claims. Okay. So anything else? This MA01, this is basically saying, you'll see this different codes, but if you don't agree with this decision, it's telling you what is the process to appeal it. So they make it pretty easy for you. If you do not agree with what we've approved of for these services, you may appeal our decision. To make that fair for you, we require another individual that did not process your initial claim to conduct the appeal, which is great. They have got like a checks and balances system. And basically it says this is the process. In order to be eligible for an appeal, you must write to us within 120 days of the date received this notice, unless you have a good reason for it being late. So basically they're also telling you you need to file an appeal within 120 days of receiving this remittance advice if you disagree with it. And then lastly, this MA18 is just saying they did already forward this onto the secondary, so you do not need to do that in this case. You will not see this a lot. In most cases, you are responsible for forwarding on yourself to the secondary. Okay, so I hope that helps some, and if you have any questions, let me know.